Thank you, thank you. It's been a little while since I've been here, and I'm always so joy-filled and enlivened when I come here. I appreciate the invitation. Well, I tried to ask myself, what's the most important thing that you need to know? And, it kind of came around to what's the most important thing I need to know. And so I'm going to tell you the most important thing that I need to remember for myself, and if it makes sense for you, please embrace it. So, I have struggled with my brain in my life. My brain has not been my friend. It's not exactly, well, maybe it is, that saying, don't believe everything your brain says, your brain will try to kill you. It's an exaggeration for some people, I hope. For me, it's almost, I've wrestled with it. And I naturally got to where I would be praying and seeking Spirit to kind of bail me out of this log jam that I had created in my life. Well, many years later, Spirit told me, stop praying. Many years later, I mean just like 8 years ago. Just stop praying. You don't even know what you're praying for. You don't even know what's good for you. You don't even know what you want. And maybe you can relate. You pray and you get stuff and it's kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting, and you play with it for 10 minutes and you put it down and you're quickly praying for some other diversion or some other thing you think you want. So I've mentioned here before, I learned in yoga the concept of there being three minds: a positive mind and a negative mind. And then there's a switch where you can kind of get to neutral mind and kind of turn off the minds. So the positive mind is really, really good when you're visioning and you're trying to plan for the future and you're thinking about what you need to do in order to put the pieces in place so that you're kind of safe and comfortable and enjoying yourself. There's a lot of fantasy in there, and it's a good tool, great tool. But those folks that they get lost in that fantasy world and they're always out there somewhere dreaming, not quite grounded enough, maybe. Not great if you're there all the time. Negative mind is a great mind. Your judgment mind, your analysis mind, am I getting full value for my dollar? Is this a good thing to invest my time in? You're evaluating and judging, and both of those minds, you're kind of making either or decisions. You're kind of using it in the dualistic world that we appear to have. So, the idea of getting into the right and wrong, choosing either or, once we make the choice, of course, then, of course, our minds, we thought it, of course it's right, we're going to defend it. So then there's this battle action that goes on on the earth plane alone, both within ourselves oftentimes and with others. So how do we stop this compulsive monkey mind, this obsessive compulsive, always thinking about how you're going to take care of you? That's pretty much what the mind's designed to do. It's really a primary tool of the ego, and the ego gets a little bad rap now and then. The ego is really, really a good tool for down here on the physical plane, and there's a place for it, but not all the time. So how do we turn off that brain and put it into neutral? And more importantly, what do we realize and experience when we do put the mind in neutral? I have a friend that taught me years ago that honesty is the accurate perception of reality. And the either or mind really can't get an accurate perception of reality. It only sees the real surface level that we walk around in, the real physical, enough, not enough, have, want, yours, mine. It doesn't have the ability to embrace the full gamut of God's creation. The powers and principalities, so to speak. The many rooms. So anyway, I was praying. God said, you stop praying. You just go to yoga, do the exercise, do the physical. Let that be the prayer. Don't think about anything, just do the exercise. That's your prayer. And again, take all mind and all desires and ideas about what I think I wanted, all the desires of my heart that I thought were so necessary. Just put those on the back burner and forget them. Okay. Well, I started to find out that the more yoga I did, the more inviting of the infinite into my finite. Yoga is union, and it basically means join together the finite physical reality with your infinite spiritual reality. And join them together, and that's where the magic happens. So many tools I learned to do that. Now, St. Paul, in one of his books, he says that man doesn't really know how to pray. We don't know how to do it, and he says that God designed us with a built-in original equipment with a spirit that will pray for us. That it's not our job, we don't have to do it, and if we get in there, we're just going to muck things up a little bit. So it was kind of like, okay, I'll let God pray for me. So spirit prays, and accepting and opening to that comes when your mind is quiet, in neutral, you're still, and you're able to kind of drop your awareness and sense of grounding into your heart, at least for me. So, how to learn to think and live in a moment-by-moment basis, not from the brain mind, but from the heart mind. And then you might know there's a gut mind also that sometimes gets involved. Usually after the heart mind is kind of inspired with something, then I feel like the gut mind is employed to go ahead and do something, usually something good for someone. So, learning how to make choices from the heart. And when you start tuning in through a prayer style that they used to teach back at the beginning, Jesus' time, but it lost favor and it got out of style and nobody knows what it is anymore, contemplative prayer, where instead of you sitting there telling God everything you want, you sit down and you get real quiet and still, you get out of your brain, you get into your heart, and you ask God to let you know everything He wants you to know. And as you develop that skill more and more, you hear more and more. Life gets more and more interesting at that point. Okay, got a few minutes? Good, I'm doing good. So, let's see, what else? So again, spirit, is kind of given to us as original equipment. Some people think you have to specifically invite spirit in, or because he's not there from the beginning. I beg to differ. I think spirit and the essence of God is with us right from the start. But I'm kind of simple-minded and maybe naive, but I figured if God is God and that's all there is, and that's all he has to work with to create everything, then everything he created, including me, must be essentially God. But I'm simple-minded. So it prays, and there's no willpower of my own involved in the prayer that Spirit is praying for me. And I begin to use my heart as my mind. In yoga we call leading with the heart. And you do all kinds of exercises, and you practice breathing, and you throw your angel wings back, you open your heart, and you embrace leading with the heart. It takes a little practice. It's not natural for us, at least for me on the earth. My natural inclination, being from New York, is to lead with my head and wonder, what do you want from me? How much is it going to cost? And how can I keep it from getting? A lot of us go around, that's kind of the primary thing that our consciousness is focused on. And, this mind, I don't want to give, the mind is a good tool again for the earth plane, but we think we're thinking when we're really not really thinking very much. We're really just having our reptilian brain telling us an instinct: run, fight, take, eat, whatever else animals do. In my case with my brain, I kind of got a negative thought and a depression neural pathway set up when I was young. And that neural pathway, boy, I've just spent my life kind of like trying not to go down it. And you know what? I can live my life and something can stimulate almost anything. Where I feel like somebody wants something. And I go down the depression neural pathway. It's not like I'm sitting here thinking about it and have a big choice. My mind is running me most of the time, and if you look at it, you might find that it's running you too. Hormonal stuff. Most of our first 25 years, 30 years, it's the hormones running us. We know very little about what we think. We've got a prefrontal cortex that thinks it can do stuff, but we don't really have it practiced enough, and we certainly don't have a perspective or a perception of a large enough universe to know what resources are available to us, who we are, and how to live in it. So, really quickly, so what I found out, this is kind of important. It's worth taking 30 seconds to say this. When you start living from your heart, there's a conversion of your actual brain too, and you're living from your heart, and the desires of your heart start to change from thinking that you just want to have a vacation and take your girlfriend and do all kinds of vacation fun things with your girlfriend, and the desires of your heart cease to be a new car. The desires of your heart and the things that you've kind of like been living your life largely under, and I'm talking about things like pride, gluttony, sloth, anger, the 7 deadly kind of things that we all have 1 or 2 favorites that we kind of rely upon a lot. Mine is pride, false pride mostly, righteous indignation. I just love it. But when I'm living in my heart is my mind, those desires just seem to naturally go away. I don't have to sit around kind of fighting my demons and leaning on myself to be a good boy and not think that way and not act that way. It's like, those desires, they don't even exist anymore. It's a wonderful place to be. All right. And then, so all that mental commotion, the way that we can heal it, and that commotion is kind of like, I think about it to an ultimate expression, it just leads to death. We heal it, we change it, we grow through devotion. Not commotion, but devotion. If you don't do yoga with devotion, you're not doing yoga. And devotion is bringing your attention to the presence of God, basically. If you can do that, you end up basically repenting, surrendering your mind, and you infuse your heart, your body, and soul with spirit, and your heart starts deciding for you. The choices even get really easy. It's like God offers you choiceless choices. Do you want to do this wonderful thing here, or do you want to do this wonderful thing here? And you say, oh yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I want to choose that wonderful thing right there. It's not a hard way to live. And of course, when you do these and you choose to do what's kind of in the divine order for you, it's just an easy, all the stress, angst dissipates away. And at that point, then you've realized that you basically had a resurrection, and that you're a new person from what you were, and a new mind, a new body filled with light, and it takes a little while to practice, but it's a cheap thrill. I assure you. Okay. 2 minutes? Okay, 2 minutes. So, it's as simple as this. God built in the mechanism that will allow us to develop this devotion. And it's really very simple. If you just kind of breathe with me, inhale, and hold it for 4 seconds, and then and as you hold it between the breaths, hold it a little bit longer each time and settle into that still, quiet spot. And that's where the real communing takes place. Don't stop mouthing the Yah way. But you'll naturally find that your breathing softens, and you'll realize that just in the act of breathing, built in, you're calling God's name, Yahweh. And if you just call his name, stop, take a moment, be still and listen, you can become a brand new person that works like this. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be.